this movie did more than live up to the hype. James Gunn's Superman reminded me of hope and might have saved my current outlook on life. And that's very dramatic, and I always try to remain positive with all things no matter what, but man, I've really felt down lately, and I think I needed this. It's not the Universal movie I'd hoped it would be, because I guarantee this won't be someone's cup of tea, but it reminded me of Gunn's Suicide Squad, in that it felt like it was made for nerds like me, because all I ever wanted was to see someone like Polka Dot Man depicted with genuine reverence and sincerity. And Gunn's Superman does just that, portraying a handful of DC's lesser known characters and doing the legwork of launching a whole new universe. But where the real sincerity comes from, and what really got to me, was illustrating the beautifully simple themes of Superman and his goal of doing good, and allowing the triumphant moments to be that of Superman saving people. Welcome to Sandwich Reviews. I'm the Talking Sentient Sandwich, your nihilistic optimist. And Donner's 1978 Superman the movie fundamentally changed the landscape of not just superhero movies, but movies in general, being part of a brand new blockbuster movement with Jaws and Star Wars, reshaping the idea of what people went to the movies for. And I think 2025 Superman might just be in the same boat. I know I said it wasn't universal, but I believe first with the quality of this movie, but second with the brand that is Superman, this can and will break through and become an icon. I don't know about Barbie numbers, but maybe. But to get my biggest problems out of the way, there is a lot of over-explaining. Whether it be from Lex's control room, a news broadcast, or other spoilery things I shouldn't mention, there was just a lot of exposition, which felt like it was constantly making sure every member of the audience was fully up to speed. Not to a glaring extent, but multiple ideas were hammered into our brains over and over again, as if just depicting it organically and having the audience come to their own conclusions was off the table. That being said, it does kick off right in the middle of the action and doesn't really let up for its entire runtime. So checking up to make sure no one's lost, especially for what is a movie for children just as much as it is for 40-year-old basement dwellers, isn't the worst call. And featuring as many characters as it did, there was a concern the narrative would spread itself thin. But I'm glad it doesn't burden itself with excessive world building, instead only really diving into the characters that matter. I would have liked more Ma and Pa Kent in particular, because that's where I really got teary-eyed, but the movie rightfully places the emotional heart of the story on the relationship between Lois and Clark. That and poking at the idea of Superman's mission being overcomplicated. Is it an undertaking given to him by his biological parents? A destiny he's meant to fulfill? No, none of that. It's just Clark's very human choice to wake up every day and decide to be kind and do good. And that alone got me to love this. Obviously, if you're a comic book movie fan, or an action movie fan, or just in need of some hope in these trying times, go check out James Gunn's Superman, because it will live up to the hype, and I guarantee you'll at the very least have some fun, and at the very most, have your life changed. But with that said, let's dive right into some spoilers, the real meat of the sandwich. And though the trailers did spoil a lot more than I thought, this is one you'll want to see with as fresh eyes as possible. And you can always pause this video and come back later. I'm not going anywhere. But you ready? Alright. And right up top, skipping a scene of Superman losing his first fight that maybe should have been included, the movie starts out with a whole lot of text. And plenty of masterpieces have great opening text, but 99% of the time, it's foreshadowing of laziness within the script. There was the whole thing of 3 centuries, 3 decades, 3 years, and so on, repeating 3 and doing something clever with it, but I was initially concerned. Luckily, those worries were entirely unfounded. I already mentioned there was unnecessary exposition, but never enough to detract from the overall experience, because I was too busy thinking about how Gunn managed to write a story about Superman being cancelled. And no notes. I loved it, all the way down to Luthor's literal army of monkey brain Redditors, which would realistically just be a whole bunch of servers carrying actual chatbots, but the visualization we got was fun. Yet one thing I feel like I have to comment on is how Clark's biological parents are played by Angela Sarafyan and Bradley Cooper, the first of which I did recognize from Westworld, but I could not believe they got the coop. And there's a good chance that's in there to set up some kind of Kryptonian invasion down the line. They wouldn't be coming back, with them cast most definitely just for flashbacks in Woman of Tomorrow, but having that Kryptonian ideology featured will 100% be coming back in Chapter 1 of James Gunn's new DC saga, Gods and Monsters. Also, similar to a lot of terminally online people, I heard a particular music track and got so excited. What could possibly be revealed as the camera swung around? I won't lie, I'm an idiot, and Batman did cross my mind. But nah, it was to reveal one of Lex's pocket dimension portals. Still, with the music kicking in, it was a great moment. And I have no better transition, because after this I'll be getting into the big stuff. But how could I not mention that weird alien ferryman? Now, let's just get right into it, because I thought I heard Lex calling him Mr. Hanson, so I started looking up that name. Yet it wasn't until I used more detective sleuthing, and by that I mean looking at the IMDb cast list, you can see Trevor Newlin is credited as Mr. Handsome, and with a click, you'll find he has mainly worked in suit performing and creature acting. So, we found our Mr. Handsome. But just who in the hell is Mr. Handsome? I thought he would be revealed as a white Martian somehow controlled by Lex, I don't know, on his payroll or something, and get into the action against Superman when he breaks out, but no, he, she, or they were just a weird looking ferryman, and by all means, depict some weird looking pocket dimension dudes. Why not? Could have used some explaining, like did he just come with the pocket dimension? But meh, that doesn't matter. Who does is Lex, who I didn't mention until now, because though I had predicted it, it was never outright confirmed that he would be the main antagonist. I had been holding out hope for someone like Brainiac, but no more than 10 minutes in, I knew that wasn't what this movie was going for. Besides, we still got plenty of cool action from the Engineer, the Hammer of Baravia, and Ultraman, but we'll get back to those last two later, because I think it was with the High Evolutionary where Gunn perfected his depiction of a deplorable villain you love to hate, and he took those practices and only improved. There's a chance I cool off with time because I'm still feeling that Superman high, but this, by far, is the best live-action Lex Luthor. I'm sorry, Michael, Gene, John. I did enjoy you guys especially, but this was just on another level. If I'm honest, only Clancy Brown has been able to reach these ingeniously hateful peaks. And even then, I think Nicholas Hoult might be better. He's that good. There are so many standout scenes with him, but the tense Russian roulette scene that ends with Mali being shot point blank and Superman letting out this horrible cry of palpable emotional pain. I know I said the Kents were the only ones that got me teary-eyed, but that, and when Superman's trying to find Krypto, saying that he's alone and scared, those two did get me as well. And that was all because of the maniacal and threatening nature of Lex. Plus, they made his whole plan another real estate deal, and how could you not love that? But that's enough brown-nosing for the villain, because that brings me to the absolutely breathtaking third act. Superman doesn't really outsmart Luthor, something I was hoping for him to do, but Krypto taking out Luthor's ability to see what was going on was a fun payoff. And when the day was saved, the shot of the whole Daily Planet crew celebrating was a few seconds too long, making me think that maybe they shouldn't have all been on the ship. Is that indicative of the movie as a whole, where it crams in a laundry list of comic-accurate characters that are faithful to the lore, but all at a detriment to the story? I can see that as an argument against this movie, but I personally don't think so, because every character was there to back up or contrast against the beacon of hope that is Superman. And the story was more than concise where it mattered. For the physical conflict between Baravia and Johannesburg, and the inner turmoil with Superman battling with whether or not he is the man of the people he says he is. And there's plenty of world building for this new DC universe, but a lot of it is just there to notice if you care, but doesn't affect much. Like the murals in the Hall of Justice, if you noticed those, which showed what looked like the old school Justice Society, perhaps hinting at that team, if I'm correct. But I think I saw Jay Garrick, Wildcat, and even Dr. Fate, and the implications of a possible Justice Society team having formed in the past would be awesome. But to get less nerdy or deep, I want to take a second to talk about Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best pal, who is never really shown to be Superman's best pal, so I have to assume he isn't. But Olsen is depicted like Podrick, if you get that reference. Not complaining, by the way, just pointing that out. But as promised earlier, let's talk about Bizarro. And I went in confident the Hammer of Baravia and Ultraman were both the same person, who would be revealed as Bizarro, even making videos about it. And I was right about that surprisingly small first one, but I was kinda wrong about Bizarro. He is a clone, but Bizarro would have freeze vision and heat breath, and he wouldn't just look like another David Corenswet, something I'll admit I was a little bit disappointed to see. But I'm sure the fandom will still call him Bizarro. But every little tease about him being a clone got me that much more excited to see his face. Lex immediately changing the subject when a government official says he created Ultraman, the fortress opening up for him, and Gary shorting out and being confused at his directive of protecting Superman, all leading to a, despite my problems, still fun reveal and a great fight, after which he could be dead, spaghettified by that black hole, and Luthor could always just try again in the sequel with another clone and have it go even worse, or better yet, a new villain for the sequel. But I figured the kryptonite poison look Superman had when he was in prison with Metamorpho would come back around and somehow be a permanent thing grafted onto Bizarro, truly transforming him into Superman's opposite. But anyway, as we'd all guessed, since they're adapting Woman of Tomorrow, Krypto is Supergirl's dog, and Superman's just looking after him. And I loved seeing her come in like a wrecking ball, setting up her reckless behavior, and entirely clashing with Superman's do-gooding ways, which I cannot express enough, I am so glad was depicted. Because with time for it to really stew in the public's consciousness, I think this could set a new standard for morally righteous characters everywhere. And let me tell you, in the time it's taken me to get this video out, I've now seen it twice, because of course I was gonna go watch this at least a couple times. But this is one that only gets better the more you watch it and the more you think about it. So please, go out and see this, if only so that the sometimes dumb studio execs at Warner Brothers don't think this whole DC thing was a mistake. And also, before wrapping up, did anyone else notice how sometimes the movie would cut to black for a split second as if there was supposed to be a commercial break? I don't know, it was just a weird transition. Nonetheless, what did you think of James Gunn's Superman? Did it live up to the hype for you? Drop a comment with your thoughts. And as always, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for weekly video essays and reviews, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.